This is a ginormous fan. This is a 220. They're doing 2 of these in a half. So Cooler Master's bringing back the half line. Probably a decent amount of you remember the HAF X, which was wildly successful when it came out. I had one actually. HAF 912 was the same kind of era. So they're doing a HAF II 500, and this runs 2 20s in the front and 180 in the rear. For the fans, these are LCP blades, which, I mean, for performance, but also for structure when it gets this large is helpful. And then a PPT hub, dual ball bearing. But basically, the objective for the revised, the new modern HAF is bringing it back to the roots of high airflow, hence HAF. That was the original. 这个中文字是什么？
这个中文是什么？什么意思？
Yeah， 是什么字？
中文，这 Cooler Master 不是吗？it's
写什么？
上面
看不懂啊。
没有 just a mark。
前
The front.
Okay, good. I'm glad we've established where the front of the computer case is. The HAF series has been a high airflow case. It's had kind of mixed hits and misses over the years. The HAF X was pretty successful. The H500B was not, but then the H500M and the H500B mesh after it were pretty good. So we're going to talk about this a lot today. They also have a Silencio 600, which this case is likewise interesting for trying to go ultra silent, where this panel is, I don't really know how to describe it. It's kind of like a fuzzy exterior, and then I guess it's like a plastic heat pressed interior or something. So this is supposed to help with reflecting noise and basically bouncing it back into the case to help. The goal for Cooler Master is to achieve an equivalent noise level as if you had a solid door. Now they're not there yet. I don't know if they'll get there or not, but that's the objective. This is going to be really interesting to test though. And the material is PET, which of course stands for, it stands for polyethylene terephthalate. So this one, they're trying to do $140 for the pricing, which is actually, if they can hit it, pretty competitive because it's 2 180s in the front. These are 40 millimeter thick 180s. So that, actually we can go over here. For these two, that should help a lot with static pressure performance. The rear is a 140 more standard, but these are the new 180s. Along with the 220s we were looking at. So we got a lot of stuff to look at for Cooler Master today. They also have some AIOs. There's a 12 volt high power protection system like everyone else has. We're going to focus though on the HAF because I think it's the most interesting. Before that, this video is brought to you by Thermaltake and the TR200 WS Micro Chassis, a Micro ATX stout case. It includes an optional 5 1/4 bay for either a screened or 5 1/4 drives. The case has a highly perforated side panel, a color accent front styled like other popular cases, can fit radiators and closed loop liquid coolers in the top up to 360 millimeters claimed support, and a total of 7 120 millimeter fan mounting locations between the top, bottom, and rear of the case. Max CPU tower cooler clearance is claimed at 175 millimeters and GPU clearance at 365 millimeters. The chassis provides a portable, highly compatible box for your builds. Learn more at the link in the description below. So the HAF II 500, Cooler Master wants to hit $180 for it. It might be $200. We're going to talk about that more in a little bit with Wei, who joined for our massive documentary we did recently. It's going to come down to basically oil and freight pricing. They've got this scoop for the power supply shroud, where this is something we've actually seen being done a lot more recently. Haven spent a lot of time on theirs for, I think it was the BF360. They had all different kinds of scoop designs, and you can see some of that with Cooler Master too, where this is one of the prototypes for the HAF II 500, and it's kind of a much more aggressive angle on this, and they end up going with more of a gradual slant. And this is actually basically exactly what Haven found was more successful for them. So same types of results. This is magnetically secured. So 2 magnets here, and it just sits in front of that lower 220, which has a little bit of a lip underneath the flow guide. So some of the air can get into the bottom chamber here, which is for the 3 hard drive cages. And then the perforations at the top of the power supply will allow any of that air that goes underneath to come up and into the GPU. Also, I guess this gives visibility to the LED on the new power supply from Cooler Master that detects if your 12-volt high power cable is going to catch on fire. So that's good. In case you don't see the fire, you could see the light instead. So this cable management kind of bar is actually a flow guide where they've got perforations in the front edge here of this angled sheet of steel. And that's to allow some of the air through to the memory, so it's not blocking the memory. But as far as why the scoop exists at all, they're trying to just ramp the air into the CPU tower cooler a little more effectively. So possibly this has some effect on VRM temperatures. It depends on if you have a tower cooler, sometimes air bleeds out from the edges and will cool the VRM. So this rear of the case is using huge holes for the ventilation for perforation. So low resistance to the rear fan here. And then a lot of times we'll see this like PCIe slots and these sections serve as kind of an accidental intake for the GPU, depending on the pressure setup. In this current setup though, this should be positive pressure, so it would just end up being exhaust. So there's a plate that covers this. Otherwise it gives us access to the hard drive cages and to the power cables for the power supply. This is just a cable management door to hide everything. 180s pose a huge challenge for cases, which is that they're very wide. And so, normally, obviously, the reason you don't see a 180 on the back of a case is because you've got the motherboard to accommodate also and the I/O. And so with all that, you're going to widen the case significantly. It gets to a point where it's ridiculous unless it's a dual chamber case. And so you're every kind of fan size up you're going, you're potentially losing space back here for cable management. So you can see this is not that deep for cable management. They do have like pre-installed Velcro straps everywhere, which should help to route the cable. But really where they're trying to compensate is just this door here, which is also hidden behind the flow guide. So that's trying to make up for the width on the main chamber that the 180 is creating without making the ballooning the size too much. For the top, the rails are pretty interesting. So these fan rails, this is also well designed. One of our biggest complaints, actually I just told Montech when we visited them, is when companies will do a fan rail that supports like a 120, a 140, whatever else. And a lot of times you'll see going to a 140 from 120 with the fixed position steel rails, they basically cover the entirety of that expansion to the 140 with just steel. And we may be dropping a shot of the Montech case I'm talking about, which is a problem because you're obstructing the actual usefulness of the higher fan size. Rail systems like what Corsair's been using, what Cooler Master has here, allow you to just adjust, and then you don't obstruct it. So that's kind of nice. They're saying that once these are fastened to a fan, these clips, then they'll also fix in place and secure, but otherwise you can slide them around like this depending on the size of the fan that you're using. So there's no ARGB fans for this case, but they're still including RGB headers on the hub. It's going to be, I think it's a 6 fan hub for the case pre-installed. 3 will be connected, 3 available. And I think that covers a lot of the core features of this case. The HAF series, I think a lot of people have a really positive association with it from the HAF X era. So I'm always happy to see it coming back. Like I said, it's kind of been hit and miss over the years. This one I'm most interested in because of the massive fans on the front. Wei, if we can get you to join, we'll talk about some of the... So Wei joined for the documentary we just did.
Yes.
And the question I had for you was, you were saying you'd like to hit $180, but you might have to do $200.
Yes.
So do you want to walk through some of that?
Yeah, so right now everyone knows the gas prices going up in the US, the freight cost is increasing due to the war, everything's happening around the world. So right now it's tough for us to hit that price range. And we're going to launch the HAF case around July timeframe. We're actually shipping out right now. We're hoping to be here by June, so we can launch it. But right now the pricing of the freight is very expensive. For example, a 40 high Q container is about $6,000, including all the custom costs and all the triage and everything. And then probably can only fit about 500 cases in a 40 high Q. So then you're looking at about $12 per case. And
just
then
the freight.
Yeah, just the freight alone from overseas to here. And then the inland freight right now is like per pallet is about $400 from West Coast to East Coast, right? So our office is in the West Coast. If we want to ship all the way to East Coast, it's about $400 per pallet. And each pallet probably fits about only 20 cases.
Yeah.
Then essentially that's about $20 on top of the shipping cost.
Right.
So you're looking at about $32 to $35 shipping costs. So that's what we're looking to right now, that potentially we want to sell at 180, right? So that everyone can get affordable half new cases. But we have to look into the potential risk of us not making money again selling the cases, right? Because throughout the documentary we talk about we're losing money selling a lot of our products, so we definitely want to do that, right? But at the same time, we need to be able to sustain our operation.
Yeah.
So we want to sell 180, so we're going to try our best to hit that price
180,
point.
it would be, I mean, obviously I haven't tested it yet, but by the spec, right, I can kind of understand where it'll fall on our charts. And 180 would be crazy competitive, I feel like. But obviously you can't like let it put you out of business. So.
Yes, so its potential might be 200, but again, we want to do our best to hit 180. So it might be at 200, so we'll see when it comes out, and then so we'll face that time when it hits.
What would like say a year ago or something, if freight for a container now is like six grand, what might you have paid previously?
So prior is probably about 3,000, so kind of double now. And so if you look at 3,000, then the cost of the shipping cost will be half, $6 to $8, so it'll be a lot cheaper, right? And even if the oil price goes down, the gas price goes down, shipping from West Coast to East Coast, you're probably looking at per pallet 150 at most. So then you drastically decrease the shipping cost by almost half. So then, or over half. So then that's why at this current moment.
Are you just continually trying to say the word half just because it's the?
Oh no.
Okay,
But
it's not just it's not subliminal marketing.
I'm not a marketing guy. But that's actually a good point. But
So,
again, right, half price.
The half X, you said this in the documentary, but the half X was like 10,000 units per month or something at its peak, right?
Yes, back in the days.
So very successful. I guess while I have you here, for something like these fans, I mean, is this the most expensive part of this case, or?
No, most definitely.
Okay.
Well, most definitely the fan is expensive, but the whole, like we mentioned before, the structure of the case, the detail to the structure of how we want to design to make sure it fits in that imprint of that width. I think everything goes into it. It's not just the fan. The fan itself is expensive, right? You don't find it 22 by 40 fans out in the market, and also very super heavy duty. So we had to do a lot of drop tests, right? Like I mentioned earlier, we've done 50-10 drop tests, and then the packaging itself, it's not cheap as well.
Is this 50 dropping the case 50 times, or dropping the fan?
No, the case.
The case.
Case was the fan 50 times.
This is the UPS test?
Yes.
Okay.
Throwing it, dumping it. We're actually doing the professional testing, so even full system as well. So we had to make sure that it actually passed those tests, right? Otherwise, if a user receives a fan that's broken or not working correctly, they waste their money. And
why is this more sensitive to drops than like a 120 or something?
Well, obviously because 220 is a lot bigger. So and we're also using a dual ball bearing. So it's a lot heavier on the motor. So it's harder to balance it. So when if we don't balance correctly and we don't package correctly, if we just throw it and drop it, it potentially might damage the fan.
Right.
So that's why it's a lot heavier. So we had to put a lot more attention to detail to our packaging, right? So the packaging itself is a lot more expensive. Right. Maybe people can make the packaging within $10 for a case. Now we have to spend double the price because we have to make sure when the end user receives a product itself,
it's not broken.
It's not broken.
Right.
And that's why I mentioned earlier, right? Even though the case is not that big, but it can only fit 500 per container because we had to make sure.
All that extra padding, basically. Yes. Okay, yeah.
So it's not just the fan itself; it's the overall entire attention to detail of everything here.
Right. Okay. Cool. Thank you for joining. I'll pull you back in if we have any other questions.
Awesome. Thank you.
So in addition to the case, I guess the last thing here I didn't talk about, but there is a GPU support built in with a rail and it's adjustable and kind of standard stuff. They also have these just stator vanes, I guess would be maybe the correct term. So there's two types. They're supposed to be maybe $10 or something. This is just a directional, to guide the flow. You mount these on top of a fan, like you're seeing with this one actually. So just a fan here, and then this is a stator. In the past, my experience with these has been that you can actually improve the pressure, and you kind of you target the air on a specific area. So if you're trying to like really drive air in a sort of a conical shape into a tower cooler or something, these can be useful. I think Cooler Master was saying it's an exchange of 5% flow, 15% more pressure or something like that. So it's kind of it's an interesting accessory. They're not bullshit. Like stator vanes do actually work. You don't see them a whole lot in computer builds. But that was one of the smaller things. The fans are probably, to me, the most interesting. So these are the Mighty 40s, they're called. This is the F220 version specifically. And then they have the 180s on the Silencio. I guess we can go over the Silencio kind of briefly as well, in addition to the stuff I had in the intro. But tooling here is different from the HAF. And this is more focused on silence, obviously. So really the key for this is going to be this panel in our testing. I was asking if they had any AB numbers. They don't right now. I think what we want to do when we get one of these in is probably like maybe 3D print, if we can get a CAD file from them or something, basically 3D print this and then do just like a plastic, different types of plastics versus this PET, which I'm not going to try and pronounce again. Otherwise, inside the Silencio 600, so this kind of similar design language from the HAF, where it's just a flow guide, holes in it for air to hit the ram, of course, and otherwise the entire case can pull apart. So all this is not just for show. Like you can actually unscrew everything to this level of detail and get access to everything. So I think that covers the two most interesting cases to me. This one, again, target $140. The other $180, $200, depending. And now we'll move over to some of the other stuff. This one I'm going to keep pretty short. So this is a Q300L V3. We're not going to test this one. It's not really the type of case we're testing right now. But this is supposed to be a $45 case. It's got a tempered glass panel. Cooler Master has been selling Q300s on Amazon for like dirt cheap. I think like $40 or something for a while now. It's one that Way actually in our documentary was talking about they're technically losing money on, and the idea being just like a market share play, I think. But so this is an updated version, and it's going to include a rear fan. It has a tempered glass panel, it's wider, cable management, and that's really all I'm going to get into with this. We tested the original Q300 ages ago and drilled a whole bunch of holes in it to make them wider, and it improved the performance a lot. Now they do that from the factory, so you don't need a hole saw for it. There's another variation as well, which is the Cube 340 here. So this has like a headset stand basically packed in with it, and then you can punch out a sort of pre-cut hole on the dust filter to mount it. So these, to me, they're not super interesting, but they are Cooler Master's entry level, like kind of high volume cases. Let's look at some of the other stuff. Okay, so this, I'm gonna keep this pretty short because 12 volt high power, we have covered to death at this point. Short version, we have a 55-minute long video called 12 volt high power is a dumpster fire. So the 12 volt high power is a dumpster fire video goes over why the spec is kind of a nightmare. But basically, like everyone else trying to offer a solution to the problem, Cooler Master is doing current sensing. So this is 6 pins is what you have set up here on the left side. You can see there's all 6. There's 12 pins total, but it's going to be ground and 12 volt. And then it's current sensing for each of them individually while running Furmark in the background. So this is 5 amps, this is 6.3, 6.7, and so forth. And when it's above, I think it's like 9 point something. I think the spec is like 9 amps per pin. Once it gets above the spec, then this green light will start blinking red as kind of like a warning indicator. And once it starts hitting the sort of more danger area, like 15 amps, it'll go solid red, and then there's a shutdown. And I think there's some pattern of Way, I don't know. Do you remember the pattern?
Yeah, no. So this one.
Let's have you do
see like it goes 0, and I think it's this one. It drops down to 0.
So you got these to 0. That's redistributing the power across the others.
So you see the light going to blinking red.
Yeah.
I think it's this one. Nope. Yeah.
Cool. 0. Yeah.
Solid red. So if we turn one more off,
power loss. Yeah. So and so this was just, I guess you guys do this more as like a game, right? But yeah. So just to demo the loss of, if you turn off some of the pins to force the current through fewer wires, and that's what happens. So anyway, that's their solution to 12 volt high power as part of the MWE power supplies. They're selling this as well as a separate cable without the need for the whole power supply. This lights up. same kind of functions. It just happens here instead. Probably the most notable competition to this. So MSI did their yellow cable thing for a while. Asus has their solution out on the market now. They also did per pin sensing on the GPU level. Thermal Grizzly, of course, has the wire view, which we've used and works very well for it. So a lot of stuff for this now. On the cooler side, so I'm gonna get Wei to help walk us through this. What is this?
So yeah, obviously, as you know, we have the dual chamber pump. So in the bottom, still the AIO of the dual chamber pump. So once you move up here, it's a concept idea of a radiator that water actually goes through in here.
Got it.
So then, once the water goes through here, the fan on the top end actually cool down the water block on here as well. But it's a concept that we're working on right now. We want to see how we can improve AIO even furthermore.
So obviously, this is going to have micro fins on the other side of it, the cold plate.
Yes.
What's like inside here? What does it look like? Do you know?
So inside here, I'm not sure if you can see the detail from here, but it's a structure inside, like an aluminum structure inside, and then the water actually flow through in here. The exact detail, I don't have it yet because this is a prototype and still kind of NDA for the inside design. So we wanted to see how would this work. Essentially, this is potential. Again, don't quote me 100% on it yet.
You're on camera, so you're being quoted actively.
True. But this is acting kind of like another radiator.
Yeah, it's another radiator.
That water is flowing through, so you're cooling it from this fan as well versus the fan from
And then I guess, are there pass-through holes here? A little bit, yeah. Okay, so you get some VRM cooling through there as well. Okay, so it's just it's a ginormous VRM cooling fan, but also a secondary radiator fan.
Yes.
Is this all aluminum? Do you know?
Yes.
It feels aluminum.
Yes, it's aluminum.
Okay.
From my understanding.
Is the pump in the block?
Yes,
still?
the pump was in the block as well.
Right.
It's kind of like what I mentioned about the G11B, right?
Yeah.
So the coil is actually outside of it. So the coil is actually sitting inside the water as
the
liquid
the
as well.
pump coil is sitting in the liquid.
Yes.
Okay.
So that at the same time, so that's kind of like what we want to look into a design.
Right.
But right now it's still early stage. So
is that just beneficial because then it's cooling the coil?
Yes, at the same time. So that's why the water is flowing out as well in the top. So that way it also utilizes this to cool down that water as well. Because the coil water will become hotter as well.
Interesting, yeah. And then metal blade fans, I guess,
yes.
with a champagne color.
So aluminum fan. So
right.
we used the champagne color to match with the theme we have.
Right. Okay. Do you know anything about how this is made?
So yes, so this is actually we utilize sponge. So what we did is we put a sponge and we nickel plate it and we put it into furnace to burn it and then to actually.
Is it literally a sponge?
Yes, it's literally a sponge.
Literally a sponge. Okay.
Literally a sponge.
So you nickel plate a sponge.
Yes.
And then you put it in a furnace.
Well, I think it's a furnace to burn it. So then that way it actually dissolve all the other materials and it's come out this way.
Cool.
So then that way, that's why it's not.
That's so weird.
It's not scratched. Like even though there's a lot of layer, but if you put your hand on it, it doesn't scratch.
Yeah.
So and this is like the best airflow you can possibly get from a mesh.
Right. Obviously, this one is solid.
Yeah,
but you're talking about like the DGX.
Yeah, DGX and also the Cosmos that we have out in the front.
Right.
You know that one, and then also. Other product with potential will be implementing this.
Yeah, we saw these the DGX panels I think getting made at one of the factories.
Yeah.
So, cool. I didn't know it was a sponge.
Yeah, it was
very
a sponge.
interesting.
Yeah. So it's actually very, very interesting. If we ever have opportunity to, but again, I asked if we ever have opportunity, maybe we can film that process in the factory because it would be very interesting to see a sponge
getting nickel plated.
Yeah, nickel plated and put into I don't know, it's a burning or furnace, like they say it burns through, so it burns through all the other chemical materials, and then it comes to this.
It sounds like it just leaves the nickel plated behind. Yeah, it burns the actual sponge.
Yeah, so then it's very interesting.
Weird. Yeah.
I've never seen it
Does
myself
that mean, is the pattern different on all of them, like technically?
Yes, technically it's not the same, it's all different.
Right.
So everything you see is unique to itself.
Interesting,
It's one-to-one. So it's different, yeah.
Cool. Is this a new 212?
Yeah, so it's our new 212 flow. So we kind of want to go back to our traditional Hyper 212. So Hyper 212 block is still our top seller on Amazon, every other channels. So then right now we want to just go back to our original Hyper 212.
No 3D heat pipe on this one?
No 3D
standard.
heat pipe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's standard because a lot of people, we launched a 3D heat pipe.
Yeah.
A lot of people still wanted to buy our regular one.
Right.
So we're like, okay, we'll come up with a new variation. So the performance is still better. We're using our Mobius fan on here as well.
Okay.
So then that way the performance will be a lot.
Price target?
We want to target $29.99.
Okay, got it. And direct contact heat pipes, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the last thing for Cooler Master that we'll cover is the fuck was that? Some kind of bug came out of there. Cooler Master's not selling memory, but they are making heat sinks. So I guess the idea is if you're gonna spend $1,000 on memory, it should be colder. I think that's the sales pitch. They're working with G-Skill on this, right? So it's supposed to be an M die, if I remember correctly, for the actual die, Hynix M die. It's got a 30 millimeter fan in there, so that's pushing air just straight through and out this heatsink. There is actually, so DDR5 in particular is actually thermally sensitive, mostly for overclocking. Cooler Master's got an Expo 6000 and then some 8000 plus kit that they're doing on the Intel side for XMP. For overclocking purposes, even just like non-extreme overclocking, it is pretty sensitive in that once you start crossing the threshold in the higher temperature ranges, you get a lot more memory errors and crashes. So it can do something. This is getting into territory though where as long as you have decent cooling in your case, this kind of thing is not necessary. If you're really overclocking or you're just running a hot case, it can be helpful. Heat sinks for memory they border gimmick where it technically does work and under the right conditions it's useful, but then for most people it's not really going to matter. So they're doing this. I think the key takeaway is that Cooler Master itself is not getting into memory, unlike Asus, which is selling $882 memory. I think it's 2 sticks. It has GPS coordinates on it, so you know where all the RAM is in their warehouse. If you, I'm just saying, it's right there. So that is going to be it for Cooler Master stuff at Computex. They have a bunch of other things too. That's kind of the most interesting for our audience, I think. And the HAF and the Silencio are high on my list for testing as soon as we're able to get them, especially the HAF. The fans are very interesting for that one. And as always, subscribe for more. We have a bunch coming out for the rest of the show here. You can go to patreon.com/gamersnexus or store.gamersnexus.net to help us out directly. And we'll see you all next time.